What's up, everybody? It is CALLOUS Invitational 5. It is my birthday night, and I am narrating this huge pairing. And I am even older than all you young motherfuckers who watch my channel than I already was. But getting back to the tournament, this is a huge pairing. Round 4 lower bracket between Undisputed playing on Suicune User and Mikmer. This is just a huge opportunity for both guys. Undisputed, the runner-up last year, and just a universally respected, all-time great ADVer. There's not a single competitive ADVer that does not deeply respect Undisputed and understand how good this guy was, and still is, obviously, based on his second-place run last year. On the other hand, Mikmer, an up-and-comer who has only been on the scene for maybe 2 years or so now, but is absolutely convinced and has started to convince others that he is the real deal and he belongs as a starter on an SPL team and is somebody that you should be taking seriously. And one way or another, these guys both have a lot to play for. Not only if they lose, they're out of the tournament, but I mean, in Undisputed's case, if you win here, you're 3-1, you're still in the lower bracket, it sets him up to really, really make a lower bracket run that he is super capable of and be a massive threat deep in this tournament to make some money for the second year in a row. And then Mikmer, on the other hand, I mean, already looking pretty damn good in this tour. If you go 3-1, if you beat Undisputed, one of the all-time greats, I think it becomes really hard to question Mikmer anymore, and I think he basically, by winning this match, earns himself a spot on an SPL team. Pretty much a done deal. So these guys both have a ton to play for in this one. Huge pairing, old school versus new school. Let's see how it plays out. Game 1 in the best of 3 right here. Undisputed, like I said, on the bottom, Suicune User. Mikmer on the top. Lead Blissey is unusual, but this whole tour we have seen, lead Bliss, lead all sorts of weird stuff. I think we've seen lead Lax. I think we've seen a couple of lead Blisses, like 3 of them or whatever. Basically, it's this new wave thing where like people actually bring like really standard teams, but they try to disguise them and throw their opponent off and mess with their openings by just leading unusual stuff. I don't know that I personally love that strategy, but it's totally a thing that we've seen in this tournament. Whether or not it's worked, whether or not it's messed with the other guy, that's hard to say. That's unlucky for Mikmer. He outpredicts Undy and spikes up despite knowing that there's a mag there, thinking the mag wasn't going to come in, and it didn't. But then Mikmer roared, and he happened to get the Magneton, and there's only a 1 in 5 chance of that happening. So that's poor. He does get a spike down. Whether or not he's going to be able to protect it is a different story. He does try to do that by going to Gengar here to block spin, but Undisputed doesn't go for that. He's got just a Magdoll here, which this is the matchup that you want, right? Mikmer has a very defensive, do-nothing-ish TSS team that seems very reliant on spikes. The Claydol will eventually get a rapid spin off the overwhelming majority of the time. It would require perfect prediction for Mikmer in order to prevent that. And yeah, I mean, once that happens, Mikmer's team, it looks like, has a really hard time winning. I mean, all the pokes that Mikmer has right now are just not pokes that are going to win the game. So it would have to, as it stands, be, a back Rachi or a back DD Mence or something like that. This matchup seems really bad for Mikmer. I mean, Magdoll as a whole is just a really matchup fishy archetype. It has a lot of bad matchups, for sure, because, like I said, it's just a giant counter team. It's just a giant matchup fish. However, when you do get the match that you're fishing for, which is this exact kind of team that you want to play against when you bring Magdoll, it's brutal. It's like almost impossible, and I think Mikmer is going to handily lose this game, and it is certainly playing out that way. Undisputed crushing him right now. Just the do-nothing, very stally, very passive TSS that relies heavily on spikes, and it is immense in the back. This is going to have to be DD Mence, and it's going to have to do all the right things. Dragon Claw, sure, and I think at the side of the Coon we are officially done here. Ice Beam fails to kill, actually, because we don't have Sand, but there's a freeze as insult to injury, and it doesn't even matter because the Mence doesn't even have HP Grass, and even if it did, I don't even know that it could be good enough. There's just way too many things that aren't there for Mikmer. Like I said, disaster matchup. Undisputed getting exactly the matchup that he wants. And this one, never really closer, never really in doubt. Relatively hacks-free game there, and Undisputed just walks all over him. I mean, that's just the story of Magdal. Like, if I had known before the game even started what teams both players were going to use, I could have told you with 90% certainty that Undisputed would win. I mean, that's just the nature of Magdal. You play against like CM spam or some like really aggressive offense, you get rolled over. If you get the passive TSS matchup, which is what this team is designed to beat, then you crush them, and we saw that here. So a successful counter team in game one for Undisputed, possibly in the head of Mikmer, get him thinking. I mean, if Undisputed read me that well, if Undisputed is willing to take these matchup gambles, I don't know. Should I switch it up in game two? Mikmer's going to have to figure it out. He's going to have to win game two and a theoretical game three, or he will be out in his first CALLOUS Invitational main event. Now, granted, should he go out 2-2 on the first try, totally fine, totally respectable, solid score, better than most of the guys in this tour are going to do. That being said, obviously you want to win and keep going and have a shot at the money. Speaking of, I probably should make a separate announcement video for this, but speaking of, the prize pool is now over $2,000, which is insane. We have broken all the financial records this year. We had more money than we had in total last year before the tournament even began. That was in play-ins. And since then, it's just gone up and up and up. We've got over 2,000 in the prize pool. We're going to be giving over $1,000 to the winner of this tournament. The only stretch goal financially that we have left, the only record that we haven't broken, is to try to clear $2,200, because that's what Blunder Tour paid way back when, and I want to be able to say that this is the highest paying non-Nintendo Pokemon event ever. So we need $200 more to make that happen. As it stands, the prize pool is bananas, and we are, of course, still accepting donations. Okay, back to the match. This is game two. Undisputed on the bottom, Suicune user, Mikmer on the top. T-Tar Zap, and usually when the Zapdos stays in and Thunderbolts, it means he has a Dugtrio in the back and that he's willing to accept this as a straight-up trade, because you're obviously accepting the possibility that there's a straight-up Rock Slide and Zapdos dies, so obviously in order to make that remotely decent, you have to have a Dugtrio in the back to make it worth it. So in this matchup, Mikmer goes straight for it. He's EV to live HP Grass or Giga Drain. Obviously, you saw how comfortably he lived that Giga Drain. Something that can go vaguely wrong is that the Celebi could potentially Baton Pass out, but even then it's not the biggest deal. It still takes a bunch of chip damage, and then the Dugtrio just switches away. So I agree with Mikmer, as long as he knows his own EVs, which he obviously does, to go for it there, and he gets himself a nice little advantage, 5-4. Which quickly becomes 4-4. This game moving quite fast. Turn 7, we've got 4 knockouts already between the two players. Starmie switching into Gengar is a little sketch. I mean, it is just Will-O-Wisp, but still, Thunderbolt there wouldn't have been good at all. Makes me think that Undisputed's team is a little bit Gengar vulnerable if that's the best switch that he's got, but the T-Wave is going to severely cripple the Gengar and make it way more manageable. And Undy does not care about his Starmie, doesn't switch it out, doesn't recover, any of that. He just chips the Gengar on the way out, just give it a little surf, and out we go. And Mikmer reveals that he's got a rain team, a very common and well-known rain team by the looks of it. We saw Teclis play this in SPL, we've seen many others play this in tournament games. The Kingdra is on the field, it got the rain down, it is now trying to surf the meta, but without a crit, surf even in the rain would not kill Metagross here. Jolteon is not usually on this team, so here's Mikmer adding his own unique twist, as he tends to do. He's a very creative builder. Going to get a T-Bolt off and going to lose the Jolteon after doing so, leaving us in a 3-3. Kingdra reappears, but the rain is gone, and he's going to whiff Hydro Pump here. But again, I don't know that would kill. I think it does not kill without the rain. It's going to result in a trade via Explosion and a 2-2 situation. Ugh, immediate Drill Peck crit. That's huge for Undy. That leaves Mikmer with only Jirachi, and he will lose the game and be out of the tournament if he cannot survive the Aerodactyl Earthquake here. It's gonna come down to a damage roll, but he's going to survive at 4%. Mikmer dropping the calcs in the comment section. According to this calculation, it was between a 69.8% and 82.1% damage roll. He was at 79%, so assuming that these calculations are correct, no reason to believe that they aren't, he was favored about 3-1, 75% or so, is that right? To survive that. So yeah, I mean, granted, it's still scary. I mean, if 20 or 25% of the time plus critical hits you don't survive and you're out of the tournament, that's pretty scary. That's not a position anybody wants to be in. But Mikmer was mathematically supposed to survive that the good majority of the time, and indeed the math did hold up for him. Rachi hangs on just barely at 4%, and that's going to be good enough to survive and kill the Aerodactyl with a Thunderbolt, which is going to send us to a Game 3. Everybody loves Game 3, no matter who you are rooting for. Everybody wants to see more games. So that's what we're going to get. 3 games, and the winner of the next game is going to be still in the tour with a nice 3-1 record and a real chance to make a deep run. Loser, 2-2, not bad, but nevertheless out of the tournament. Let's get to it. One more time, Undy on the bottom as Suicune user, and Mikmer on the top with a Zapdos. It is a Blissey lead again. What the fuck is up with Blissey lead in this tournament? We've seen it a bunch, and I don't get it. Well, Blissey has gone for S-Toss twice, Spikes established, and just another S-Toss, so she's slowly but surely chipping away at the team for Mikmer. Protect there for lefties, why not? Nothing revealed other than S-Toss. Here comes Meta, and hey, guess what? Another Seismic Toss. Skarm Bliss for Undy, not surprised. I mean, he does default to this kind of team. He does like Fori a lot, but he's not going to have a Fori here. But he does like the nice, safe TSS teams when he's in a pinch. And this is obviously an important must-win game for him, or he will be out of the tournament if he doesn't win. Hidden Power there, neutral and crit, so it looks like HP Fire. And there's a whiffed Earthquake for Undy on Skarm after removing the spikes. Skarm on Skarm, and spikes reestablished. We know Undy has a spinner. Mikmer may or may not. Still has 3 unrevealeds, but is yet to show a rapid spinner. Goes back to the meta that we know as HP Fire. Hits the Skarm, and 2-1 spikes advantage favoring Undisputed. Protect for lefties. Why not? Back up to 70%, relatively safe and healthy, but switches back to, appropriately, Coon, since he is a Suicune user. Well, he's going to get boomed on. I'm not sure that I love allowing that. He survives it somehow, even with the sand, which is unusual, but he's actually going to be outsped and killed by Tyranitar. I don't know if that was a trade that Undy wanted to make. He obviously didn't predict the boom here. I really don't believe that that would have been the poke that he allows to get boomed on had he known that boom was coming. So I think Mikmer outpredicted him there, but time will tell. Big damage on Skarm, however, through the Rock Slide flinch possibility and the Toxic poor accuracy, he does connect on Aerodactyl, and that's obviously going to put a clock on him. So this game pretty close, but the problem is Undy's running a kind of team that looks like it doesn't have a lot of ways to actually win other than the Coon, which is obviously dead. So that's going to make it a little trickier here. We've got seemingly a Roar Endeavor pert for Mikmer, and he does go straight Surf into the doll. Doesn't want to give that a free spin ever. Could have roared it out, but I mean, how dumb do you feel if he just rapid spins there? He goes for the obligatory Surf. Now it's Endeavor as Undy tries to dance around this. Surf comes down, And Soft Boiled plus Wish is going to get Bliss back up to 100%. But the Swampert's still sitting pretty behind the sub. Now Endeavor coming down. And Wish once again. Safe from a non-crit Surf here. And the crit does not come. Soft Boiled Wish combo again gets the Blissey back up to 100%. Endeavor does only have 8 PP. And indeed, Mikmer backs off of this line of play. So there's a Wish floating. Who wants it? Going to try to pass it to Skarm and will be successful. It is a Dragon Dance from Mikmer. Skarm at 83%, but has to watch the stab rock slide that's incoming. Takes a risk and goes Protect. Would have been terrible had Mikmer DD'd again, but he did not. And rock slide gets a clutch flinch for Mikmer. That leaves Skarm in potential danger here. Mikmer not able to DD on the Protect for a second time, so multiple missed opportunities here, but he continues the rock slide assault. This one doesn't flinch, and Roar is going to force T-Tower out, but Skarm very low at this point for Undi, who of note still has 2 unrevealed pokes, though traditionally on this team it is Gengar and Dugtrio. Not that he would have that here. In fact, I think he doesn't have Dugtrio because he would have killed the T-Tower, but usually it's Gengar Dugtrio. Still could be Gengar plus something else in this case. Well, there is the Endeavor perk getting really low, 18%. Those Endeavors now devastating to Blissey. And yeah, he's not comfortable playing this game. He's just going to S-Toss and break the sub, and he's going to lose the Blissey in doing so. Rachi shown for Undisputed. Interesting decision. I mean, it kills the Pert, and maybe that's the only way out of this situation for him, but that looks like his only other win condition, probably, other than the dead Coon. And Thunderbolt there, he's praying for a para or a crit that doesn't come. And now Mikmer is going to whiff on Hidden Power, but that's just basically a free attack there, as long as he doesn't miss Rock Slide here, which he doesn't. So now he goes to Gengar playing for a Rock Slide dodge, which definitely doesn't come. Thunderbolt kills Tower, but it leaves Undi in shambles. He's got 3 weakened pokes, and now he's only got 2 pokes, one of which is the Rachi that's really low. Hidden Power and Rapid Spin, sure, getting rid of the spikes is fine and well, but it's not super important at this stage. Hidden Power again. Psychic. Oh, that's pathetic. 16%. He would need immediate crit Specs drop or something. He does manage to sneak his own Rachi in on Hidden Power. Maybe he can survive a Thunderbolt or play for a freeze here. He does outspeed, and he does play for the crit or the freeze. He gives himself a great opportunity, but it doesn't come, and now he's got only Claydol, and I think Undisputed is dead. Zapdos shows rest, and that should be the writing on the wall. Psychic, the only move that Doll is going to have other than possibly Boom, which obviously doesn't help him here. And the PP is so limited against the Pressure Mon Zapdos, the bulky special defense Zapdos. Claydol has been Toxic Tier, so now it has to have Refresh, which he does, but I don't think it matters. I think Mikmer can easily PP stall Undisputed out here should this play out. I'm just not seeing the scenario where Undisputed can win here. He's going to run out of PP. It's as simple as that. Sleep Talk Thunderbolt, irrelevant. Psychic needs an immediate crit Specs drop to have any chance, and that would still require Mikmer staying in. That doesn't come. Sleep Talk Hidden Power, trying to help him along. Psychic again. Still just paltry 16% chip damage. It just isn't enough. And Zapdos obviously is going to go straight back to sleep. Psychic again, 15%. Looks over to me. And there is the concession. Undisputed sees the writing on the wall and packs it up. Mikmer with a very impressive standout victory over last year's second place finisher and ADV all-time top 10 great Undisputed. Hard to ignore Mikmer after this victory. And in impressive fashion for sure. This game relatively clean. I do question, like I said, with Undisputed, allowing the Coon to get blown up on. Obviously, that's much easier to say as a spectator than it would have been for him in the moment as a player. But obviously, had he known that the boom was coming, which we now can confirm definitively he didn't, because if he did, he obviously would have switched to the Jirachi or the Gengar and have it blow up into something like that. As it stands, he let the Coon get blown up on, and I think that really, really mattered because, as it turns out, looking at the team for Mikmer, other than the Zapdos, which is a special defense, not an offensive Zapdos, so like even then the Coon could have been good against it. But other than the Zapdos, the Coon was really good against Mikmer's team. Mikmer really did not have fantastic answers. So in a hypothetical scenario where that same boom from the meta, which is the only thing on the team that can have boom, if that same boom from the meta had landed on, say, Jirachi or Gengar, I think it's a completely different game. I think the Coon becomes a huge issue for Mikmer and very likely wins the game for Undisputed. So I think this game, by and large, came down to that one turn and that one decision. And certainly credit to Mikmer for not messing around, making the play, making the read, just going for it. And it probably won him the game, but Undisputed, if he looks back at this game and asks himself what he could have done differently, I think had he let just about any Pokemon on the team other than the Coon eat the boom, I think this could have been very different. Well, those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments. As it stands, the result is a Mikmer 2-1 victory. Undisputed, last year's second place finisher, 2-2 out of CALLOUS Invitational 5. Mikmer alive in the lower bracket. Let me know what you guys thought. Thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Like I said, still taking donations. Just under $200 more will make us, to my knowledge, the highest paying Pokemon side tour ever. Really want to hit that goal. I'm going to go enjoy the rest of my birthday. I will see you guys with more content in the coming days.